Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of PKM Weekly, end of the month, so let's see what's in store for us. And for anyone in the UK, remember it is Mother's Day today. So with that aside, let's see what's been happening in the past week. So first up, Capacities. They've got a March 2025 update, and with it comes lots of updates, including Google and Outlook calendar integration, and that is for Capacities Pro subscribers, performance improvements, working with simple tables improvements, backlinks and tags, fix and zoom, and desktop app on Windows is now signed. So if you are a Capacities Pro user, what you can get now is calendar integration. So what it basically does, it just allows you to see your Outlook or Google Calendar within Capacities itself. So you can see it on the left-hand side here, sync to the appointments, and basically just go on and see what you can do with it from this blog post that the team put out. So very useful, and it does seem to be the way that a lot of apps are going, just giving you the opportunity to have your calendar within your note-taking app. So very interesting to see that Capacities has also achieved that. And in terms of the changelog, there was quite a few other things as well. So we can just have a quick look through them. So the calendar, obviously, performance improvements, simple tables, and it gives you a bit of a blurb of what each of them are. They had the second off-site team day in Freiburg. Hopefully some stuff will come out of that, and then the updated website, etc., and then some other updates. So well done to the team for that, and looking forward to testing out the integration of the calendar within Capacities. Next up, Beth, she did a video on how she sets up LifeOS today, plus many tips and tricks that she can think of, so definitely have a look into this. Basically, after using Capacities and being on the team for quite a while, she's just having a look at how she would set up LifeOS if she was going to do it today. So lots of insights, lots of tips and tricks, as she says. So definitely do check that out if you haven't already done so, because it might give you something insightful. And then another one was just an appreciation post for Capacities, one of the best apps the OP has ever used, and please never retire it. So basically just moved all my notes to Capacities from AnyType, finding it hard to fit a single thing in my life into one note-taking app, and basically seems to be going down the Capacities route. So if you're in something similar or you're interested why, just have a look through the Reddit post and you can see the OP's comments and any responses that they've received. Next up, Logseq. So we can now export and import the graph as EDN. Basically allows us to export and import the graph from the DB version as EDN, plain text backup of your graph's content. And they did post a little bit of a video here. They've also posted a linear link. I can't log in because I'm not subscribed to Linear, so it's a shame it's not anywhere else that I could find. So if you can log in and wouldn't mind posting it somewhere, please do. And they did post a video of what you can basically do with the EDN export. So definitely do have a look at that, because Gabrielle did put some time and effort into it, and it does seem to be a very good export manner that you can do. Although for the time being, there is still no MD export available, although I think that is being worked on. Next up, we've got Brian Sunter. They're improving the Logseq MCP, so basically allowing AI agents like Anthropic, Claude, etc. to manage your Logseq graph. And he's gone through it. Check out the Twitter post, because he goes through a bit of a demo, what he's been up to, and basically just allows you to interact with Claude on your graph. So very useful if you want AI capabilities within Logseq. And next up with Logseq is a new one that I've come across. So basically, for those missing Omnivore, there is an app now, highlight your web reading experience within Logseq directly. So just very briefly how it works, there's the web page, OP's highlighting, Logseq graph on the right, send to Logseq, the highlighted section, and with a note. We'll skip forward, a few button clicks, and there you go, and then you've got the whole thing within your Logseq graph automatically. So it is a bit of a workaround of how to get web content within your Logseq graph quickly. So do definitely check that out. Very useful, and thank you for doing that, OP. And I've pressed the wrong button. Tana's up next. So a few videos from the Tana team. So how CTOs use Tana, 5 genius workflows. Basically Tana created a video with 5 heavy users of Tana and how they basically use Tana in their day-to-day lives, what the benefits are, and basically just how it makes their life easier. So do definitely check that out. And also there was a Tana office hours with Matt and Brage, and this looked at various different things, an hour long, and within it there is quite a lot of discussions about offline mode, some of the capabilities, some of the requirements that the team appreciate that is needed, and how they can possibly achieve some sort of offline mode with assets, with your notes, with the whole graph, etc. So a lot of work to be done, but at least someone's thinking about it. So Andrew and Fis did a bit of a video, so building an AI agent from scratch. So basically going through a complete tutorial in how you can build an AI agent just from a system prompt, and then step-by-step guide to dynamic knowledge, self-improvement, commands, voice, interface, etc., etc. Basically goes through building an AI agent every step of the way. Very useful video if that is what you're after. A couple of hours long, but very insightful. So thank you, Andrew and Fis, for doing this. And then App Advocate, they did a bit of a blog post on my journey with Tana, the unique project management app. Basically embracing complexity. It is a bit of a complicated app to get started with, although you can make it as easy as you want, but there are a lot of intricacies and you can deep dive really into the nitty gritty. So App Advocate did a blog post on it, and you can read it here from their own website, or if you're a Medium subscriber, do click on the Medium one just to support their work. Basically just goes through that, yes, he does acknowledge that Tana is complicated, but through that complexity, it does make his project management easier, if you will. Obsidian, so a video on the ultimate self-hosted Obsidian sync setup. So this is for PC and iOS. So basically if you want to have a self-hosted Obsidian setup, check out this video because it just goes through the very detailed step-by-step process of how you can get it started. It basically uses sync thing, but there are other ways that you can also do it, but it just gives you the starting step of achieving self-hosted platform. A very interesting one was how I built Obsidian in one day, or Obsidian. A very interesting one was how I built an Obsidian plugin in a day. So if you're interested in building a plugin for Obsidian, this is the video for you. So it basically goes through the very beginning.
Hey everybody, welcome back to A Better Computer. My name is Matt, and today...
And Matt just talks us through basically building a plugin for Obsidian. So do check that out if building a plugin has been on your mind. So thank you for that. And then there was quite a popular post on Reddit with, again, starting with Obsidian for my study notes. Does anyone have any recommendations? So about 60 comments or responses to this post. And basically be proficient with Markdown, learn how links work, map of contents, get to know Obsidian, data view query, a couple of posts that they cross-link of how to get it set up. And really the key and the crux of it is focus on working in Obsidian and not working on Obsidian with plugins, tweaks, etc., etc. But I thought it'd be very useful because I do see still quite a lot of posts about how to get started with Obsidian. So if you are in that same boat, do check this out because there's a lot of good responses there. Orca Note 1.2.0 has been released, so a new global shortcut key, improving indentation, whiteboard appears collapsed, block aliases, etc., etc. So quite a few improvements to Orca Note. So do check that out. I'll get your app updated if you are a user of Orca Note. And there's still a lot of things planned by Sethuan, so do keep an eye out on this app because it does seem to be taking shape quite nicely. Next up is AnyType. So there's a bit of an alpha update. So they're going to look at primitives, which basically makes it a lot easier of how to deal with different types. So currently we have countless ways to achieve the same thing in AnyType, resulting in confusion of how to set up the best types. And they're trying to look to simplify that whole process by introducing something called the project primitives. So relations are now called properties, types become fully fledged first-class citizens, properties which were set at the object level will now be defined by type. A lot of things just to make AnyType a lot more easier to use and that you can use the same thing with different things within AnyType. So definitely do check that out and keep a lookout on the AnyType community because that's where it's announced with any updates. Noteey, they did version 1.19.0, so new features and improvement, video highlight functionality, table and card tag groups, various different other things. I think the easiest with Noteey is always just check out the video. Very helpful because it goes through each of the updates, how they actually work, what they are, and how you can make them best out of them. So do definitely check this one out from Noteey. And we also have Rome. So Rome did ship quite a few quality of life improvements with semicolon Q. So it basically semicolon Q is a way to query your Rome graph. And again, you have to check out Twitter. So basically just go through it and you can see from the demo videos, it's an easier way that you can query your whole graph with this update. So very useful update there. And last but not least is Octarine. So they've got a number of updates that they've pushed out. So implemented validations, improved loading times. And I have to say from the videos I've seen, it is a lot smoother and quicker. Replaced codebox syntax, daily note and weekly notes now have different colors, and there's been a legend put up so that you can see in the graph what the colors mean. And again, just check out the web page for the demos of what the improvements are. So you can see scrolling through different days is a lot quicker and it is smoother than it was before. So that was it for this week. So thank you as usual for being here, and I shall see you next week. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.